The 2020 school year has been unusual for students and their parents this year. Walker County schools are open and in person and also online. Earlier, we asked parents, students, teachers, and community members to email their questions about this school year. Walker County School Superintendent Damon has agreed to sit down with us and answer those questions. Thank you, Mr. Raines, for being with us today. How is the district handling the COVID concerns at a school level?
So it really varies. There's protocols in place that we're all abiding by. Those things came from CDC and they came from DPH. And so we've taken their plan and then we've kind of put it on steroids at each individual school with what we're trying to do there. And so mitigation efforts include cleaning protocols. They include disinfecting after classes move in and out, disinfecting desks, cafeteria. There's actually two types of disinfectant that we have to use. There's a food grade disinfectant, so when the students are eating in their classroom, we have to actually wipe down the desk with that prior to them eating and then after they eat. So there's a variety of things I think we're doing at the school level, and then all of that is supported from the district level.
What impact is COVID-19 having on the outreach support for the schools, like the medical and the dental?
So first 9 weeks we decided to go no visitors at all to the buildings, and so we've been doing that to protect not only our students and our teachers in the building, but to also maintain some level of control with who's coming in and out of the building, not knowing if they have or if they've been around someone with the virus. Programs like that all have a medical basis or a background, and so they have protocols in place. For instance, blood drives, that's a big deal right now, not being able to have those at the high schools, but they worked it out to where they come onto our campus. There's a screening that the students would have to go through. There's a sign-up process. They never come into the building. They stay outside in the mobile units. And so we started to at least put our toes back in the water a little bit for things like that, because that has such a connection with the medical field right now. And some of them talking about the plasma use and the potential treatments for COVID and the virus. So it's been quite different. We're revisiting that actually next week to talk about what does that look like for the second 9 weeks of the year, and then what will that look like as we go into the second half of the school year. So I can see those things beginning to change and loosen up the guidance based on the number of cases. If we were to have a spike, we would go right back to where we began the school year to make sure that we're protecting our students and our employees.
How are you handling COVID on the school buses?
So one of the things that we found that we could do, especially during the warmer season, is have the windows down, let that natural air circulate through, and then leave the windows down between routes. We also wipe down all the commonly touched surfaces. So everything that as the student walks by a seat, we're wiping that down after every route. We also fog the buses every night. And so that way they get it kills everything that's on the bus at that point as far as germs or viruses. We've installed hand sanitizer, and we ask our students as they get on the bus and as they exit the bus to at least put the hand sanitizer on their hands. And the other thing we did was we've had quite a few donations of protective equipment. FEMA and GEMA sent quite a bit to all of our schools across the state of Georgia, which included masks, it included gloves, it included face shields. It was just a variety of things. And so we took some of those masks and we had a number of those on the buses. So if a student got on the bus and asked for a mask and didn't have one, they would have access to one of those as well. So that part of it, and keep in mind, we have fewer riders this year too, just based on the social distancing component. So we've asked families to sit together, students who are in families to sit together, and then we separate seats so that we can at least try to attempt some level of social distancing on the bus.
How are all of these COVID procedures affecting the budget?
Wow, so we did get CARES Act funding, which was for us was about $2.2 million. And so that money was used to provide some of the disinfectant, some of the cleaners that we knew we were going to have to purchase. Then the donations have helped immensely. So that's been good things for us as far as budget. But we know that as long as this continues forward and we have to continue maintaining some of those things, it's going to have a budgetary impact. And we were in the situation where we had to do furlough days this year, calendar reduction days, and we hated doing that. But when we got the $5 million cut from the governor, which was 10% of our budget, we knew that that was going to put a strain on us. And so that was one way to handle the budget cut. But it was also a way for us to kind of set back some money so that if we did have to purchase those additional supplies in the future, we would have the funds to be able to do that.
What platforms are being used for students at school and online?
At school, we've moved into the G Suite, which is something that's offered to education free, and that's a Google program. It's just a platform to house everything. It has a ton of tools in there that our teachers are used to using. We asked them over the summer to go through the Google certification classes at their leisure. It took about 16 hours plus the test. Then we gave them 2 days off if they put that time in. They had 2 planning days that they could take off in lieu of working over the summer. We had a lot of folks do that. We had a lot of folks pass that Google certification level 1. So they're well equipped in that area. And then each school purchases a variety of software platforms. It could be Brain Pop, it could be iExcel, it could be Reading Plus. That they purchase on their own that are additional programs for students that can be used either in person or virtual. We also added a component this year. We have what's called a single sign-on. So the problem is a student knows about all those programs, but they have to remember a password for every one. But you can actually go in, put in one password, and then it logs you into all of those anytime you go in. So especially the littles, that's hard to remember a lot of passwords. This kind of gives them an idea of where that's located and how easily they can access it. For our online folks, we've used a variety of things. Some of our teachers tape portions of their mini lesson, so they'll record it through a Google Hangout or a Zoom meeting. Some of our teachers have found that they just put that on and the student logs in and they're on there all day long, just like they're sitting in class. We've mixed reviews, and it's been a difficult transition for us to go into the digital world just because it's outside the norm of what teachers typically do.
Are there any socially distanced social events being planned?
So we're considering a lot of options. Class by class, socially distancing them, live streaming that so those parents, because they can't come into the building, they could still see those events, and then taping those events and having that link available as well. So we're tiptoeing into that as well because one, I don't want to get into a situation where I create more cases and quarantines and then I pull them back out of school. So it's a unique balance right now, but as our data trends downward, we can begin to at least have those conversations about what that's going to look like.
How many students have to be sick or quarantined for the school system to shut down?
We started in green, and then we knew if we had 2%, if we got to 2% of our total population of students and employees with a confirmed active case, that would move us into the yellow, which would have potentially taken us into a hybrid program that you've seen other districts do, 2 days on, 3 days digital, that kind of thing, based on last name. Then if you go another percentage, so 3% would have then moved us into the red, or an order by the governor that said we're closing schools. That would have moved us into the red as well. So we've been tracking that data the whole time, and we've never, like right now, cumulative, we're still at around 1%, 1.1% as a district that have had active cases. So it's never gotten to that point to where we had to consider moving into yellow and changing our plan.
Finally, what are your goals for the school year?
So our goal is to get back to in-person learning. We're relationship builders. We like to have our kids there so that we can take care of them on a daily basis. So that's the ultimate goal. But we also realize this is a real virus. This is a scary virus. And so we're trying to make sure that we don't go too quickly, but we also understand there are needs in our community where they need us to be 5 days a week. And so that's why we offer that option of parents that were still a little hesitant, a little anxious to allow their student to stay in that virtual world. But we want them back in the building.
Thanks for joining us. For more information on Walker County Schools, you can go to the web at www.walkerschools.org. You can also find them on Facebook and Instagram, or you can call the central office.